Tonight, the day of danger. Bushfires roar back to life, hitting 3 states, fuelled by horror conditions. The danger reaches Sydney's doorstep as temperatures in our west hit record highs, leading to a power supply emergency tonight. Fury on the front line.
Come and meet me, Prime Minister.
A powerful message from exhausted crews as they fight an uphill battle. Further inland, the snowy mountains melt, an emergency blaze threatening homes and lives. Drastic action, Defence Force reserves sent to help in an historic first. And double delight, run machine Marnus Labuschagne thrills the SCG crowd.
Live from our Sydney headquarters, this is 7 News with Michael Usher.
Good evening. For days we've been warned it was coming, and tonight communities across New South Wales are fighting to save their towns as the bushfire emergency roared back to life. Right now, more than 140 fires burning across the state, 11 at emergency level. That intimidating eerie darkness returned to a number of towns. In Sydney, the heat's been extraordinary, breaking new records at Penrith, hitting 48.9 degrees at 3 o'clock. And as we come on the air, the hunt for arsonists in our west and southwest. But first, Robert Avadia has the latest on the South Coast threat.
Intimidating pictures from an RFS helicopter west of Nowra as the Kangaroo fire roared into new life today. A house was right in front of the flare-up. It's moving fast. Coastal residents warned to seek shelter. And at Nelligen, west of Bateman's Bay, another monster. Several homes in the line of fire there.
Friend's house. About to burn down by the looks of it.
Whipped up by strong north to northwesterly winds. Firefighters are exhausted and one cannot contain his anger.
You from the media, tell the Prime Minister to go and get from Nelligen.
And from a female colleague to the PM.
Stand down now.
High emotion amid desperate, dangerous and almost deadly work that sees that first firefighter collapse by the roadside.
I've lost 7 houses already in Nelligen. I'm not going to lose any more.
It was close, but heroic efforts saw most saved. 50 kilometres south at Bendalong, near Lake Conjola, fire tearing through the trees, what looks to be a bush cottage under threat. Waterbombing helicopters respond, but flames are soon roaring above the treetops as police warn residents of what's coming. Another outbreak 70 kilometres south at Bateman's Bay, being fanned by northerly winds towards homes at Long Beach and Surfside, flames within metres of houses. This was the scene from the ground, the circular pattern typical of spot fires started by embers. Every available waterbombing aircraft has been called up, this one filling up on the Moruya River. For much of today, it looked like southern New South Wales had dodged a bullet, an inversion layer keeping smoke close to the ground, shading and cooling the earth. By midday, temperatures were in the mid-20s, not the 40 plus that was forecast. But then the smoke lifted and the wind picked up. Suddenly, fires rated as watch and act flared into emergencies, one after another. Several of them were in the snowy region, the Kosciuszko National Park, and to the northwest in the Batlow-Tumbarumba area. Batlow is practically a ghost town after most of its 1,400 citizens fled. But not publican Linda Rudd, not yet.
We'll stay as long as it's safe, and we've got plans in place.
RFS Chief Shane Fitzsimmons went live on 7 with this warning.
The dangerous afternoon is starting to unfold.
He had sent 3,000 volunteers into the field today, 31 strike teams, each of 5 trucks, hoping they wouldn't be needed, fearing they would. The state's highest ever level of preparedness.
When the southerly does come in, that change in weather will exacerbate existing conditions. We are in for a long night.
Residents in Moruya are well aware of the risks.
If it gets into the trees, there's just have to leave straight away.
This family packing their SUV ready to hit the road.
I've got everything I could possibly fit. Kids' photos.
Everything's ready to rock and roll, so if she starts to glow around here, gets too sus, we're out of here, mate, for sure.
And Robert Avadia is in Moruya tonight. Rob, good evening. That expected southerly change, has it reached you yet?
Good evening, Michael. Yeah, it has. Certainly not to the tune of 80 kilometres an hour, and it is definitely colder. You can tell that. You might be able to see the trees moving behind me, but here in Moruya, it is actually a godsend. So the Southerly is coming from that direction. The flames are in that direction. When it was a northwesterly, they were threatening the town. Now the wind is pushing the flames away. So Moruya, it seems, will be spared by this, in spite of the fact it was predicted to be right at the forefront of this disaster. The Southerly is moving through. It's moving up north the coast. From what I understand, it is certainly close to Bateman's Bay, and the threat looming potentially tonight might be in the St George's Basin. Michael.
OK, Rob, thank you. Robert Avadia in Moruya. Further north in Bateman's Bay, hundreds of people are spending the night at local campgrounds as fire rages towards their homes. The area's under intense water bombing from firefighting aircraft. Jeff Parry's been with the residents fighting to save their homes, who've been told it's too late to leave.
A steady and furious blaze roaring towards homes at Nelligan. Unrelenting, tearing through bushland.
No, doing their job. That's what they're there for.
Fire trucks screaming through North Bateman's Bay, heading straight for the thick, dark smoke looming over residents.
It's way dark!
Dozens of new blazes have been fanned by hot, dry and gusty conditions. Firefighters using every resource to try to get on top. Ex-RFS volunteers Wendy and Joe stayed to defend their property, hoping the water in their tank can last the night.
Yep, that's the best thing. We fill the gutters with socks. The gutters are all full.
The plan is to put as much water on the house as possible to save it. The fire itself is only about 100 metres down that way. It is burning slowly, but the wind is coming towards the home, and the fire service, Rural Fire Service, has just shown up on the scene. For hundreds of others who fled to safety, it's an anxious wait.
We don't know if we're going to have a house or not, after today, so...
We're just to wait and see.
Crammed into a camping ground and prepared for the worst.
We'll just go to the water and bunker down in the water and
see what happens. Hopefully it turns for the better. And the worst is on the way. Emergency alert level blazes burning all around them. Those at North Bateman's Bay told it's too late to leave, living out of their cars and camper vans a little longer.
Well, let's go to Jeff now at North Bateman's Bay tonight. Jeff, good evening. What's the latest where you are?
Well, Michael, you can see the roadblock behind me. That's the Princess Highway. That's blocked, and the reason being that bush area that you can see behind me, that's North Bateman's Bay. We've just had an unconfirmed report that they're up there now trying to save a house, that this fire has regenerated, and there is a house there under threat. I stress that is unconfirmed, but they've been up there all day. The water bombers, the fire brigade, to try and save the homes up there. This is part of the Clyde Mountain fire, which is at an emergency alert level. That's impacting in North Bateman's, and that of course has a wash-on effect for areas like Surfside, Long Beach, and even all the way up to Durras. So you can see that part of the highway is closed. The Kings Highway is also closed up to Clyde Mountain, and to add insult to injury, Michael, about 10,000 or more homes in this area, including thousands in that impacted area down Surfside and Long Beach, are without power tonight, which means they have no ways of cooking their food or air conditioning or anything like that. Michael, back to you.
All right, good on you, Jeff. Thank you for that. Now, in the state's snowy mountains, a new emergency is unfolding with entire communities left in darkness as thick smoke blankets that region. The small Kosciuszko town surrounding Tumut are at most risk tonight, and Chris Reason has that story.
The snowy mountains, today anything but. The view from on board an RFS helicopter. A threat authorities had warned of all week, now a reality. This is Cooma, plunged into darkness.
At 5:05 in Cooma, New South Wales, it is as dark as midnight out here.
If we come out of today with no lives lost, that will be a good thing.
In Thredbo, snow guns turned into fire hoses, protecting the resort. Dozens of communities across the valley told to seek shelter. The loss of homes considered all but inevitable.
The likelihood is that we will lose property in a lot of different areas today.
To the northwest in Batlow and Tumut, it didn't take long for things to kick off.
There's a spot fire up here and there's a spot fire over on the other side here.
But some residents refuse to leave.
I'm going to try to stay and save my house. I'll back up and up to the bush up here.
I'm staying. I need to try and defend my house.
Others that hung around rallied together.
It's just been overwhelming, the response that we've had from local businesses. There are too many to name.
with one hotel keeping its doors open for those with nowhere else to go.
We've been open all week. We're not closing.
Is there a reason why?
This town's our home.
But others didn't need to be told, making an escape before it was too late.
We just want them all safe, that's the main thing.
Lucky to get out before the Snowy Mountains Highway closed and before conditions get a lot worse.
We are in for a long night, and I make no bones about that. We're in for a long night.
Chris Reason, 7 News.
And now the federal government is moving in. Prime Minister Scott Morrison says he will no longer wait for the states to request assistance. It means thousands of Defence Force resources are on their way to the firegrounds as we speak. Tim Lester has the story from Narooma, a town directly impacted by the deadly fires on the south coast.
The tiny historic town Tilba, nestled in south coast bushland.
We're here to try and protect the village.
5 days ago here they watched a hellish glow on the southern horizon, the deadly Firefront swallowing much of neighbour towns Cobargo and Quama.
Our life's more important than our property.
Today, John Matthews is hosing down the town's historic courthouse.
There's tons of old timber underneath the house.
Now, the same fire is poised to hit Tilba and its weatherboard history.
When it comes, Tim, I may well bail out. I'm just here just wetting everything down, making sure it's all, sort of secure.
Disaster response has long been a state responsibility. Now, the Prime Minister says Canberra is stepping in.
To ensure that we're giving everything that is needed on the ground without being asked, we'll be turning up.
Scott Morrison claims it as a major shift. No waiting for states to seek help. Canberra moves in anyway.
The response that is required is to get the boots on the ground, to get the planes in the air, to get the ships out to sea.
Cabinet's National Security Committee has decided to deploy 3,000 Army reservists across the firegrounds, the first ever compulsory call-up for reservists to go to natural disasters.
It's your Defence Force and we're here to serve you.
More military choppers are on their way. HMAS Adelaide has sailed south from Sydney to help with evacuations. The government also spending $20 million to lease 4 more firefighting aircraft.
It's late morning. This is the road into the coastal village of Bermagui. Fire authorities say you should not be driving out on this road and you certainly should not be driving in. But life doesn't work that way.
If it comes over the top of the mountain, I'm just going to be... we're going to be in trouble.
And if these towns burn to the ground...
we will rebuild.
Though in Tilba they know you can't rebuild history.
It matters to you, this place?
Well, it matters to everybody, I think, not just to me. It's the National Trust village.
Let's go to Tim Lester now in Narooma. Tim, it is looking ominous where you are. What's the latest there?
Well, Michael, this town, Narooma, has been losing the light in smoke haze since early afternoon. We now have virtual darkness 2.25 hours before the scheduled sunset. But the more important change, the one Rob was discussing in Maruya earlier, the southern winds have hit Narooma now. The wind gusts are stronger, but they're coming from a quarter where there are no fires, at least attacking Narooma, and they're also cooler. They are even bringing some rain, and we had one almighty clap of thunder just a moment or two ago. It feels very apocalyptic, volatile, but one Narooma local told me it's a miracle it saved this town. It might not save other towns where southerly winds could be a threat. One other note here, they've given a masterclass in Narooma today on how to save things that really matter to you: boats, cars, even backhoes and cherry pickers, all parked across the golf course where, of course, it's green, watered, away from the bush and near the coast. Not much hope of being burnt there. Michael.
Tim Lester in Narooma, thank you. A citywide manhunt is underway tonight for arsonists who spent one of the most dangerous fire days of the year lighting fires. A number of blazes sprung up near homes today, with police trying to track down those responsible before they can strike again.
Roaring through bushland metres from homes. A fire believed to have been deliberately lit springs up in Georges Hall in the heart of the city's west. Residents grabbed hoses, police rush to their side, desperately trying to keep the flames at bay until firefighters arrive.
Very, very rapid fire spread. It's spread on several fronts. And it's impacting a number of streets. At one stage we had very serious fears that approximately 100 houses were coming directly under attack.
Under control thanks to emergency crews, but far from out of danger. Just west at Badgerys Creek, another fast-moving blaze, prompting a rapid response. It too believed to be the work of an arsonist.
If people are going to do this sort of stupid things, look, there's no place in this world for them.
We don't want people adding to our problem. We don't want people adding to the risk that is already significant for the people of New South Wales.
Despite total fire bans right across the state, there is a major concern that many people aren't heeding the warnings, and there is now a special strike force that has been set up to investigate the cause of the bushfires and whether arson was a factor. And in the past few hours, yet another blaze, this time at Kemps Creek. Not arson, this one started by power lines, but the lasting firefighters need on a day of extreme danger.
And Sam Britt's at the scene of that blaze in Georges Hall for us this evening. Sam, hello to you. Firefighters, they've managed to keep it away from homes by the look of it.
They have, Michael. Firefighters have certainly done a remarkable job here, but the residents told me that they actually grabbed hoses along with the local police, and they were the ones who started trying to douse the flames even before the firefighters arrived here. Now, I just want to show you exactly how close this massive inferno came to so many homes. You can see here there's just one street that separates this huge inferno from hundreds of houses. These residents here are absolutely furious that this could possibly be the work of an arsonist, and this very much remains a crime scene here tonight as police investigate exactly how this bushfire was started. Michael?
All right, Sam, thank you for that report. We have some breaking news now to bring you as the bushfire crisis continues to cause major problems, this time with power supply. Jess Ridley standing by with more on this now. Jess, what's the cause of this?
Good evening, Michael. Well, 7 News has just taken an urgent and very concerned call from Energy Minister Matt Keane, who says tonight New South Wales is facing a critical power shortage. Now, we've been told that critical infrastructure, that being transmission lines in the Snowy Mountains, have been cut off today. Furthermore, we've been isolated from Victoria's backup power supply. So what this means is an immediate loss of about 1,000 megawatts of power. To give some perspective to that, that's about 10% of the state's entire power supply needs. So the minister tonight is urging everybody to do their bit by turning your air conditioning up by a couple of degrees, switching off the pool pumps, and also avoiding dishwashers and washing machines tonight. Michael.
All right, Jess, thank you for that. Good advice. For more, Angie Asimus is here now. Angie, good evening. The heat fuelling these fires, it has been record-breaking today.
It has, Michael. More than 30 locations across New South Wales suffered through temperatures above 45 degrees. Some of those places smashed records. Penrith's top of 48.9 degrees, the highest maximum on record in the Sydney Basin. Canberra's 44 degrees, also a record, while Badgerys Creek reached 47.6, Bankstown 47 degrees. Now, we are tracking that southerly buster at the moment. It entered the far south coast about 5 p.m, hitting Moruya this hour, then on to Nowra by 8 p.m, reaching Sydney before midnight. While it presents good news in terms of a drop in temperature, the associated gusty winds will make the fire zone very erratic. So wind warnings are in place from the south coast up to Sydney. In fact, fire plumes will also induce that thunderstorm activity. So while it won't be hot tomorrow, total fire bans remain in place across the state. I'll have another update on the situation soon, Michael.
Angie, thank you. The isolated Victoria town of Mallacoota is facing a new fire hell tonight. Next, eerie red skies turn black as the people fight to save their community for a second time in a week. And a raging blaze on Kangaroo Island turns deadly. 2 people killed trying to outrun the flames. That's next. Two people have been killed in catastrophic conditions on South Australia's Kangaroo Island. A luxury resort owned by Dick Smith's daughter has been completely destroyed. Mark Mooney reports from the island where the virtually unstoppable blaze has wiped out one of Australia's largest national parks.
In the heart of the island, a heartbreaking discovery. Inside a burnt-out vehicle, the body of legendary Outback pilot Dick Lang. His son Clayton found on the highway 200 metres away. The pair overcome trying to outrun the flames.
Unfortunately, we didn't quite get everyone out, so no, it is unfortunate.
Late today, the Lang family issued a statement expressing their sadness. The pair had little hope of survival. The fire roared out of the Flinders Chase National Park towards Pandana. These pictures showed the chaos as locals fled. The blaze was so fast and ferocious it destroyed everything in its path. The world-famous Southern Ocean Lodge reduced to ruins. There, holidaymakers and workers took cover and hoped for the best.
They sheltered in a bunker. We lost communication with them for a while, so terrifying. We thought that they were lost as well as the place.
This is all that's left of the Chase Cafe, a family business visited by tourists from around the globe.
We don't know what to do tomorrow.
Home after home destroyed, so too the Western District Sports Club.
All of the photos for 50 years, all of our male medal winners, netball winners, and just all of our records. We've absolutely lost everything. We've lost the whole lot.
Kingscote Oval has become a relief centre, holidaymakers and locals sheltering side by side.
Lots of people have lost all their houses, so yeah, everyone just feels a bit helpless, really.
A bit eerie feeling knowing that where you were staying is sort of burnt out now.
Hundreds have now left the island on 14 ferry trips, the biggest mass exodus in a single day.
Really scary, just had to leave pretty much, didn't want to stay.
Tourists have been asked to cancel their plans. A cruise ship that was to offload passengers was diverted to Port Lincoln.
I think a lot of holiday places are going to be suffering because their tourist trade is gone at the busiest time of year.
This park is caring for burnt koalas. There are countless just like them still on the fire ground.
Definitely the worst day I've seen on the island, that's for sure.
A community on its knees, but vowing to rebuild.
You can rebuild a place, you can't rebuild people. A lot of work to do, but tomorrow's a new day.
And Mark Mooney's on Kangaroo Island for us this evening. Mark, good evening. The blaze there, it's still raging tonight?
Yeah, it is, Michael. Good evening. While the intensity of those catastrophic conditions we saw here on Kangaroo Island yesterday has reduced, this fire is very much burning out of control tonight and is still posing a threat to safety. And residents still haven't been allowed back into the fire ground here to assess the damage. They won't be able to do that until firefighters have managed to gain the upper hand, but we've seen from the air that this damage is quite considerable. In the past hour or so, as you saw there, this community has learned that the two victims of this fire are 78-year-old Dick Lang. He's a very well-known Outback pilot, well-known right across Australia, and his son Clayton. They have a farm here on the property. They are well-known here. They'd been fighting the fire with a little farm unit for 2 days. And they were returning to their farm yesterday when they were overcome. His family obviously devastated by the news. But so far, no other missing persons reports, say police, so they're hoping that the death toll will not rise, Michael.
Simply devastating. Right, Mark Mooney on Kangaroo Island, thank you. And Victoria is battling its own bushfire crisis with large parts of the state under threat from out-of-control infernos. As we go to air, 14 emergency warnings are in place. Some areas even told to evacuate as the flames bear down on them. Reporter Blake Johnson reports now from a state gripped by disaster where in Mallacoota the day is again being turned to night.
Mallacoota, not midnight. This is 2 in the afternoon. Dark and ominous. The only thing punching through the black is the red and blue lights of a fire truck. It's suffocating and brings with it a sense of deja vu.
It's not a nice thing, but anyway, we'll get through it.
On Tuesday, the foreshore provided refuge from the Firefront. Those still here know what to do.
Straight to the water.
Absolutely,
straight to the water.
Yep.
Yeah.
Everything else we can fix up, but our lives we can't.
This is where all that smoke is coming from. Across the state, they were worried it would be dangerous. And the forecast delivered. Fanned by strong and unpredictable winds, Victoria's bushfire crisis is relentless. 1/5 of the state is in the firing line. More than 50 fires are raging, many bearing down on towns and communities.
We still have those dynamic and dangerous fire conditions, the low humidity, the strong winds, and what underpins all of that, the state is tinder dry.
East Gippsland is scarred and is not being given a chance to heal. These are the first images out of Buchan. Homes, farm buildings, livelihoods destroyed. 2 are dead, 21 missing.
There are a number of areas that we still have not been able to get into where we know there are people. So that's an exceedingly concerning situation.
Some decided to stay and fight. Mick Kennedy spent the past few days cutting down trees around his home and watering everything. But knowing where the danger is coming from isn't easy.
It's sort of hard to read, like smoke picked up over here earlier and then it sort of picked up over there and it's just sort of going everywhere at the moment.
And adding to the threat, this looming lightning storm, capable of starting even more fires. That's why everyone is chipping in. These Melbourne fireys travelled 300 kilometres to Bright. They'll protect the town.
What that does, it frees up the CFA vehicles to go out and fight fires in the bush.
Away from the fire zone, the first load of Malakuta's evacuees landed near Melbourne this morning. Emotional and grateful, Darcy Brown's home burnt to the ground. She'd lived there for just 1 month.
It was pretty devastating to lose that, but yes, we're all safe.
And far away from scenes like this, the danger is far from over. It's going to be a long night across Victoria.
And Blake joins us now from Bright in the Alpine region of Victoria. Blake, there's an urgent evacuation underway as the fire bears down.
There is, Michael. There are serious concerns tonight for the town of Omeo, home to around 400 people. These pictures are just in. Black Hawk helicopters and Chinooks are being used in a fairly dramatic mercy dash. We understand women and children are being flown out of the town, and there are reports that there are plans to defend the town's hospital if the fire does breach the town's defences. The blaze is headed towards Dinner Plain, Omeo, Kabungra and Angler's Rest. The incredible challenge that emergency services face here is that so much of this state is on fire. Michael?
OK, Blake Johnson in Victoria, thank you. Iran has vowed severe revenge against the United States. Next, why Donald Trump says he ordered the murder of a top general and what it means for the world. Also, tragedy strikes a friend's camping trip with 2 men drowning in Sydney's north. 4 generations of royals mark the start of a new decade. And of course, we'll keep you updated on this unfolding bushfire crisis. Iran is warning severe revenge after yesterday's killing of a top Iranian general at the order of Donald Trump. The president says the attack saved American lives and should have been done a long time ago, warning Iran not to retaliate.
The fiery end to an accused terrorist that could also be the spark of a new conflict.
And we got him.
The aerial ambush by US drones targeting Iran's top general Qasem Soleimani as he was leaving Baghdad airport.
Soleimani was plotting imminent and sinister attacks on American diplomats and military personnel, but we caught him in the act and terminated him.
Calling Soleimani the world's #1 terrorist who coordinated armed groups across the Middle East, was responsible for killing hundreds of American troops and most recently the attack on the US embassy in Baghdad. In Iran, Soleimani was a national hero, seen as a future president. Thousands of Iranians showing their anger at his killing and Iran's supreme leader promising severe revenge. In Washington, concern about what could be coming.
This action may well have brought our nation closer to another endless war.
More than 3,000 extra US troops have now been ordered to the Middle East as American civilians in Iraq have been told to leave now. American embassies are now on heightened alert around the world, while here in the US, police in New York, Los Angeles, Washington DC and other cities say they've increased their vigilance.
What we are pursuing is a restraint and a de-escalation.
As 2 long-time enemies tread a dangerous path. In the United States, Paul Kadak, 7 News.
2 young men are dead and their friend is fighting for life after getting into trouble in a creek near Hornsby. The 28-year-old was pulled from the knee-deep water in Barowra Creek, struggling to breathe when the others disappeared from sight. Their bodies were discovered by police divers just before midnight. A man's been shot dead by police after killing 1 person, wounding 2 others in a stabbing rampage near Paris. The 22-year-old attacked the group walking in a park just south of the French capital. He then made his way to a local shopping centre where he was gunned down by officers. A Quran was found among his belongings, but police say there's no evidence he'd been radicalised. And 4 generations of royals have posed for a photo to commemorate the start of a new decade. Gathered in the throne room of Buckingham Palace, it's only the second time an image has been released featuring the Queen and her 3 heirs. Well, more on the bushfire crisis coming up next. We'll be live to the south coast, where homes and lives are tonight under threat. Fancy a change of scenery? How about heading west? The famous Birdsville Hotel is hiring. And thirsty work, heartbreaking pictures of our native animals in the fire zone.
And that gusty cool change is surging along the south coast right now, due to reach Sydney in the coming hours. Details soon.
Welcome back. More now on the bushfire emergency, and let's go to our senior correspondent Tim Lester, who's in Narooma, where it's quite extraordinary. Tim, an eerie gloom's descended on the south coast town.
Absolutely, Michael, and it's been happening since early afternoon. This, what we assume is smoke haze moving over the town. We've seen it numerous times this summer, as you know. Began in Narooma today at about 1 p.m, and the town has been getting steadily darker ever since. And now, a full hour and a half before the scheduled sunset, it is utterly midnight black out there. You would not know the difference from deep into the night, except there was, in recent minutes, a red glow across the western sky. Now, that may, of course, partly be the sun descending. It is also true that out to the west are the most dangerous fires from Narooma's point of view. A number of them are burning at emergency level. There has been in Narooma late this afternoon, that we discussed earlier, that southerly change coming through, some gusts of wind from the south that are cooler, that are coming from a quarter where there aren't fires, but might be problematic for other communities who have a fire threat to the south. Michael?
Right, Tim Lester in Narooma, thank you again. Well, after 132 years of operation, the T6 Carlingford line will take its last ever passengers in the early hours of tomorrow morning. The line's being replaced by the $2.4 billion Parramatta Light Rail, scheduled to open in 2023. The trip had by far the lowest patronage of any Sydney suburban line last year. Today's passengers were asked to give a gold coin donation, with all the proceeds going to the New South Wales Rural Fire Service. Now, a heartwarming video of a man sharing his water bottle with a dehydrated kangaroo in Cobargo. The township all but wiped out in this week's bushfires. The roo hurried over, leaning into the water bottle to take much bigger gulps. And Spencer Norris travelled to Cobargo to see if his family's property was still standing when he spotted those kangaroos. Well, the stunning Summer of Run machine Marnus Labuschagne has continued with a double century at the SCG. Let's go to Mel McLaughlin, who's there. Mel, I tell you what, we need a bit of a lift, and it was an amazing performance by mighty Marnus.
Hi, Michael. You're right. He's certainly trying to do his bit. He was so impressive and continues to rewrite the record books here at the SCG. Coming up in sport, a magical moment for the South African-born Aussie as he notched his first Test double ton. And the bushfire crisis brings tennis star Nick Kyrgios to tears at the ATP Cup. That's next.
It's hard.
Welcome back to the SCG, where day two has belonged to batting sensation Marnus Labuschagne, who scored his maiden double Test century against New Zealand. The 25-year-old was simply brilliant, smashing 215 and guiding Australia to a solid total. In reply, the Kiwis were none for 63 at stumps.
New Zealand received their pink caps from Glenn McGrath before play, as the Aussies resumed at 3 for 283. Marnus Labuschagne continued right where he left off.
Labuschagne with aggression. Coming down.
Matthew Wade tried to follow suit.
Yeah! Bowled him!
Will Somerville with his first Test wicket on his old home ground. An inside edge brought Marnus to his knees before he rose to pile more pain on the Kiwis.
Another milestone reached. 150 for Labuschagne.
Travis Head couldn't bring his MCG form to Sydney, out for 10. Hungry for more, Labuschagne continued to dine out after lunch.
Oh, that is beautifully hit. He found a way through.
He then set his sights on another incredible milestone.
Well, it's streaky, but he's done it. A double 100, and we have to say, Marnus, the magnificent. Proud parents.
It's been an amazing time for him, and we're obviously so proud of the way he's dealing with it and the way what he's achieving.
Having my mum and dad and my family-in-law here as well, it's such a privilege to play in front of your family and friends, and for them to all be here for this game's big honour.
He's only second to Bradman for runs scored in a 5-Test summer, and for now is averaging better than Steve Smith. His epic innings ending on 215.
Straight back to the bowler, and that's it. The end of an unbelievable innings from Marnus Labuschagne.
A succession of quick wickets before Stark launched a final assault. Australia all out for 454. Pat Cummins was ready to work over the Kiwi openers.
Oh, that was a brute of a ball.
They got the get square just before stumps. Matthew Wade saved by the grill on his helmet. Jim Wilson, 7 News.
Well, another batting collapse by England has South Africa on top after day one of the second test in Cape Town. Ben Stokes looked dangerous before he was caught at cover for 47, as Ollie Pope was the only batsman to pass 50. Stuart Broad had a moment to forget as he was embarrassed by Kagiso Rabada, with the tourists losing 5 for 49 to reach stumps at 9 for 262. South Africa leads the 4-test series 1-0. Chris Lynn made an impact on and off the field last night to power the Brisbane Heat to a 31-run win over the Hobart Hurricanes. Lynn will donate $750 to the Red Cross bushfire appeal after smashing 3 sixes in his unbeaten 88 off just 55 balls. The Heat's 3 for 213 was their highest ever Big Bash score. In the chase, Ben McDermott copped a nasty blow after being struck on the back of the neck by a throw from the outfield. Matt Renshaw bowled Darcy Short for 25 to end the Hurricanes' chances as the visitors cruise to their second win of the season. And fast bowler Josh Hazlewood will return from a hamstring injury in tomorrow night's blockbuster Big Bash showdown against the Adelaide Strikers in Coffs Harbour.
My last game was, I think, BBL 3, so... it's been 6 years and haven't played too many T20s in that time, but a couple for Australia, but looking forward to tomorrow night.
But captain Moses Enriquez won't play, rushing back from Coffs Harbour this afternoon to be at the birth of his first child. The match is sold out and you'll see it live and free on 7 tomorrow night, right after the news. An emotional Nick Kyrgios was close to tears as he dedicated his ATP Cup opening tie win to those affected by the ongoing bushfire crisis. Alex de Minaur produced a stunning comeback as the Aussies got off to a perfect start against Germany.
Nick Kyrgios showing a side Australians rarely see.
My hometown's Canberra and we've got the most toxic air in the world at the moment, so it's pretty sad. It's tough. Sorry.
An inspired Kyrgios was on a mission in Australia's opening ATP Cup tie against Germany.
Oh, a moment of magic from Nick Kyrgios.
20 aces for the Aussie, totalling $4,000 out of his own pocket for the Bushfire Relief Fund in a straight sets win over Jan-Lennard Struff.
And what a way to finish it.
All the families, firefighters, animals, everyone, is losing homes, losing families. It's the real thing, and, it's bigger than tennis,
Alex de Minaur faced a tougher test, down a set and a break against Alexander Zverev. The Aussie produced a brilliant fight back.
What a comeback from Alex de Minaur.
Zverev and the Germans at a loss as de Minaur pulled off a remarkable victory.
That's one. And it's a victory for Team Australia. What a way for Alex de Minaur to start 2020.
That's going to go down as a great win in his career.
It's definitely up there. The Aussies take on Canada tomorrow. Andrew McCormack, 7 News.
Aussie NBA star Ben Simmons has taken to social media and pledged to do all he can to help with the bushfire crisis. The 23-year-old said, "I'm so sad by the loss our country is currently facing. I'm working with my family and calling on my Australian NBA brothers to do our part to help in this catastrophic disaster." Today, Simmons' stunning 29-point triple-double was not enough to stop the Philadelphia 76ers from losing 118 to 108 to Houston. Michael, that's it from the SCG. Great to see so many high-profile Aussie sporting stars getting on board because this bushfire crisis, they're going to need all the help they can get.
You're right about that, Mel. It's really uplifting too, so good on all of them. And thank you tonight from the SCG.
Thanks.
Now, have you ever dreamed of living in the Outback? Well, this could be your chance. One of Australia's most well-known and remote pubs is on a recruitment drive, offering work and the adventure of a lifetime.
In the heart of Australia, a sandstone structure marks the spot.
We're out here at the Birdsville Hotel.
Of where your next job could be.
We've got such an array of jobs available.
The historic hotel has been welcoming weary travellers and locals for more than 130 years.
You never know who's going to walk through the door.
But they know when the crowds will, from Easter until October. They need seasonal workers, 20 of them, to lighten the load.
Some of the roles here that we we hire for can be anything from meal running up to 300 to 400 meals a night.
With the hard work comes some perks. No city traffic.
I just like the Outback community out here. It's a pretty cruisy lifestyle.
And the chance to take in some local traditions.
Really get involved with some of these massive Outback events like the Big Red Bash and the Birdsville races that happen each year.
The hardest part might just be coming home. Lauren Mara, 7 News.
Coming up, Angie Asmus has the forecast. Angie, good evening again. The latest on the cool change. What's that?
Michael, it's impacting the south coast now and then on to Sydney. It brings good and bad news, though. All the latest warnings are next.
Tonight's 7 News headlines: 140 fires are burning across the state, 11 of them at emergency level as firefighters prepare for a long night protecting lives and homes. It'll be a long night too for countless people in evacuation centres, with many areas on the south coast plunged into darkness by thick smoke. And Sydney had a scorcher today, with Penrith registering 48.9 degrees. So for more on that, Angie's back with Sydney's weather. Angie, record-breaking heat today, cooler tomorrow.
And Michael, that cool change is fast approaching. It's surging up from the south coast, due to reach Sydney after 11 p.m. Temperatures today have really been extraordinary. The city was still heating up just before 6 p.m. when we reached our maximum of 35.8 degrees, although that looks pretty good compared to our western suburbs. Penrith recorded record-breaking heat, 49 degrees, Richmond 47, the airport hit 43, Katoomba 38. From the satellite, this is the Southerly buster we are watching. Wind warnings associated with that are in this yellow zone spanning the south coast up to Sydney. It is worth noting that change will only impact regions east of the divide, so it's very coastal. Now, those gusty winds combined with fire plumes are inducing that thunderstorm activity, so locations will experience dangerous lightning strikes tonight. Statewide total fire bans remain in place. Overnight, that southerly change will move to the north coast and stall there. In the wake of that moving on, a high will again become the dominant feature, signalling a return to calmer easterly winds across the coast. Tomorrow's capital's looking a lot more manageable. Canberra dropping to 27 degrees, Melbourne 18, Hobart 23, Adelaide expecting some light, although very welcome morning rain. Statewide, temperatures and winds will ease significantly. We'll even see a light shower at Batemans Bay, top of 22 degrees, Wollongong and Newcastle, though, will remain gusty. That also means it's going to be a much cooler day across Sydney tomorrow. We're looking at a top of 29 at Penrith, 20 degrees cooler than today. The coastline will reach the low to mid-20s and it will be quite gusty again in the east, smoke haze in the west. On the coast, that change will trigger south-southwesterlies up to 35 knots, so warnings are in place for gales in Sydney, the Eden coastline as well. Elsewhere, winds will be strong. In the city, when that cool change arrives around midnight, the temperature will dip to 21 degrees for a low, top of 25 degrees tomorrow. Now, then ahead, cooler with some showers on Monday and Tuesday. Those showers, though, unfortunately looking a lot lighter than first expected. Temperatures generally staying close to average for the rest of the week, looking a lot better than what we saw today, Michael.
And that is good news. All right, Angie, thank you for that. I want to show you some pictures now. They're quite eerie from across the bushfire zones tonight. Now, we're about to be joined by the rest of the country for a special edition of The Latest as our comprehensive coverage of the bushfire crisis continues right now. Stay with us on 7.